All right. So thank you so much for coming to our officer training session this morning. Today, Joe and I are both going to be tag teaming this session and talk about our virtual involvement fair, which is set for next week, and some recruitment strategies to best prepare your organization to recruit new members in this virtual environment. So we always say involvement begins here on Osprey Hub, and that couldn't be more true for this year. So much of what we do is going to be existing in the virtual world, and for better or for worse, the first point of contact with prospective members is going to be through Osprey Hub. So we want to make sure that we are giving you all the tools and tips that you need to make sure that you are marketing your organization as best you can and communicating what you are and what you're about to your prospective members. So as a reminder, our involvement fair is going to be next week, September 22nd, 23rd, and 24th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. each day. It is going to be live on Osprey Hub, and so I'm going to kind of show you the steps on how to register, some tips to kind of maximize this experience, and then I'll give you a little bit of a preview of what the fair will look like to prospective members. So if you haven't already done so, if you haven't registered for the fair yet, you're going to want to go to Osprey Hub and you would click on the organization that you wish to register. Obviously, if you're part of many organizations and you want to register each one, then you'll have to go through this process separately for each organization. Once you click on your organization, you're going to click up here on the top right to manage organization. And as soon as you do that, you'll see the menu appear here of all of the different fairs that you can sign up for. Meet the Greeks is reserved specifically for fraternity and sororities, but I think it appears on all of our sign-up sheets. Just know that that is only for our fraternity and sorority community and not for other student organizations. Then you have your fair for each day. So if your organization can only do 2 days instead of 3 days, then you can choose to register for anywhere between 1 and 3 days of the fair. I would still suggest registering for all 3, even if you can't do the live chat for all 3 days. You would click that link, and it's really basic and easy. So unlike last year where we needed to know all sorts of information, this year the 2 most important things that we need to know are a summary of your organization, and it's limited to 200 characters, so you have to be kind of concise with this. And then a link to meet with prospective members online. And so we encourage you to go to Zoom, create your meeting for the Get Involved Fair, and then this way prospective members have the option to do a live chat with you. If for some reason you're not available on one day, let's say that you're a newer organization, you don't have a lot of members, and Wednesdays is your heavy class day, you can leave that option blank if nobody is going to be available to do a live chat. And I'll show you what that looks like for people who are participating in the fair. They'll either have an option to contact you, or they would have the option to meet with you live and chat on Zoom. Just some tips really quickly, because I recognize that I'm sure every person at this point has participated in a few Zoom meetings here and there, but I don't want to assume that you have created your own Zoom and that you know all the ins and outs for that. So I'm going to go over just some basic tips for getting your Zoom up and running. So real quick with Zoom, all students have been upgraded to the Pro Zoom license. This means that unlike the spring and the summer where you had a 40-minute limit, you now can host meetings for an unlimited length of time, and you can host up to 300 participants in your meeting. To access the new license, you need to make sure that you log in on stockton.edu/Zoom and use your portal credentials, your Stockton credentials, to log in. If for some reason it's still showing up as Zoom Basic, log out and log back in, and then it should work. If for some reason you're still having some problems or things still aren't looking right, you can contact the ITS help desk, and they can help you make sure that your Zoom account has been upgraded. All right, so when you go in to Zoom on the website, you can click schedule a new meeting. And I wanted to just kind of go through a few options. So when you're creating the link for the fair, it's easiest to probably use the same link for all 3 days so that you're not confusing your members who are helping to run this session with you. So you can choose when you're setting up a meeting a specific date and time, or you can set it as a recurring meeting. So this is also helpful when you're creating like your weekly meetings, and you can make it every week at Tuesdays at 4:30, or what I like to do is the no fixed time. So this way I can use that same link anytime I'm doing drop-in hours for student development, or anytime I just want to do a check-in with my club members. And so what you can do is you can make it the Asian Student Alliance meeting and set it as a recurring meeting for no fixed time. And that will just automatically stay open whenever your group wants to meet. So you can use it for the Get Involved Fair, but then you can also use it for your future meetings as well. As you scroll down, there's an option up here to enable a waiting room. And that is sometimes helpful if you're doing a program or even with your meetings. It allows you to kind of see who is coming into your meeting. And if for some reason there is somebody who is being disruptive, or you think that you might be getting Zoom bombed, you can easily remove that person and keep them back in the waiting room. So that's helpful just to kind of have that as a safeguard when you're creating your Zoom. There's options on here for whether or not the video will automatically show up for participants when they log in. You can choose to do that or not. It's, you know, most people will turn their video on if they're comfortable and hide it if they're not. And same thing with mute participants upon entry. For a meeting, maybe it's okay for everybody to come in and chit chat for a little bit at first, and for the Get Involved Fair, I would leave it, you know, so that they can just come in and start talking. But if you're setting up your Zoom for a program or something else, it might be helpful to click that link that says mute participants upon entry. The last part, alternative hosts. Specifically when you're creating your Zoom link for the Get Involved Fair, it'll be really helpful to add anybody who's able to help with your Get Involved Fair coverage, add them as an alternative host. This way, if you are creating the meeting but you can't be there for all, you know, 9 hours of the fair over that 3-day period, it will allow somebody else to be able to serve as a host, share their screen, admit people in the waiting room, things like that. You know, just like today, Joe and I are both co-hosts. So when we both logged in, we're both able to share our screen at different times. Whereas if I didn't add him as a co-host, he wouldn't have that ability. So lastly, once you have your meeting created, it's really important when you start your meeting not to use the link that you're sending to participants, because if you log in that way, it will view you as a participant and not as the host of the meeting. So you'll go back into Zoom, look at your menu of meetings, and then click the start button. And that's how you will be designated as host. You'll be able to let people in from the meeting or from the waiting room. You will have the ability to share your screen and things like that. Whereas if you logged in as a participant, you wouldn't have those abilities. All right, so once everything's set up, this is a quick preview of what the Get Involved Fair will look like for participants. So when the day of the fair, when you log into Osprey Hub, again, this is all new, so I haven't actually seen this yet, but what I'm told is that a nice big alert bar will appear at the top of the page, letting everybody know that the Get Involved Fair is happening and to click here to enter the fair. And once they do, they will have this direction box up top that if they need help finding something or help navigating this, they can visit the help desk. And the help desk is basically the student development Zoom. So we'll all be hanging out there just like we would at the normal fair, waiting for students to stop by, ask us questions, help to point them in the right direction, help them find their fit and connect with your organizations. There's also the ability down here to search based on their interest or based on the organization categories to see what organizations have decided to participate in the fair and who they'd like to chat with. So as you can see on here for the Literature Club, this is an organization that has submitted a Zoom link and is fully ready to participate in the video chat portion of the fair. So if you clicked on Literature Club, it would bring them, the prospective members, to your Osprey Hub page where they could learn a lot more about the Lit Club. They can request to join right from here, or they can click to meet online, and that's where they would be linked to the live chat with you all to learn more about that organization. For the Muslim Student Association, it looks like they were not available to do a live chat. And so instead they left that box blank, and prospective members have the ability to contact them with more questions. And so that would be just like if somebody were to stumble upon your Osprey Hub page and hit contact, you would be notified that someone is trying to reach your organization. All right, so since Osprey Hub is like where everybody is going to be, I would highly encourage you over these next few days to give your Osprey Hub page a really thorough checkup to make sure that you are marketing and utilizing all the different features of Osprey Hub. Revisit your About section. Make sure that you are putting your best foot forward and really describing your organization in detail, because again, unlike previous years, prospective members aren't going to be able to walk up to your table and see your trifold board with all the pictures from your events, and see your scrapbook of, you know, Argo articles and you know, the brochures, the pictures, and the flyers of all the different things that you've done in the past. They're going to be relying solely on Osprey Hub to learn about your organization and be convinced that this is something that they want to be a part of. So be as descriptive as possible, but also remember that the description that you're listing on Osprey Hub is public to anybody, even without Stockton credentials. So I wouldn't put too much information like the Zoom link to your meetings. Don't put that in your description, because again, you don't want to make that information too public where you would be getting a Zoom bomber joining you for your first or second or third meeting. Add your meetings perhaps as an event on Osprey Hub, but don't put that information in the About section since that is public. You can add video content. So as all of us are starting to kind of live and get more comfortable in the digital world, you can go ahead and put together almost like a brief commercial for your organization. So you can run through a PowerPoint and record it just as we're doing right now for our YouTube channel. But you can create a quick commercial for your organization and then link it into your About section, and it will automatically embed over here. So you can see the example on Student Development's page if you'd like to see what that looks like. Make sure that all of your social media links are updated. So Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, if you have an external website, make sure that all of that information is there. Update your photo gallery, develop news stories, and add all of your upcoming events and meetings so that this way it just is a lot more visual for everybody to see. So I just wanted to highlight a few of those things and go a little bit more in depth. So Osprey Hub has the ability to, you have the ability to publish news stories for your organization. Sigma Beta Rho like knocked this out of the park a few years ago. They had, I would always joke around with Patrick, who was the president at the time, that I felt like the two of us were competing for who you know, could bump each other's news stories down, because I felt like every time I posted a news story, he posted a new one and it bumped me down. So it was all good competitive fun. But he did a really great job of making sure to tell the story of what his organization was doing. There was a member of the week. There was an article about their event that just happened with pictures. There were, you know, recaps of all of the service-related events that they did and all the money that they raised, the community service hours that their organization put in. Those are all really important, not just because they'll appear on the main Osprey Hub page as soon as you post it for everybody to see, but it also sticks with your organization. So if somebody is clicking your link at the Get Involved Fair, they'll be able to look back and see your history of your news stories and all the great things that you've done. So definitely take advantage of that. You know, even if you think that you don't have a whole lot of news for the start of the semester, do a member spotlight or an alumni spotlight. Talk about your upcoming events and then do a news story to recap on how it went. You know, it's definitely a great way to kind of keep that PR piece going and tell the story of your organization. In similar fashion, show your story. So definitely utilize the gallery feature of Osprey Hub. I think that this tends to get overlooked a lot because we're so used to sharing our pictures on our Instagram page, on Facebook, on social media, you know, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever form you're using of social media, that we sometimes forget to go back and create an album in our gallery. But that is also so important, because if you were to look and stumble upon Save's page or ASA or Active Minds, you can visually see what their organization is about and what they do. Whereas if you go to an organization that has no pictures up in their gallery or just a few old ones from a few years ago, then the illusion is that that organization might not be as active and might not be as current. But you can see here that Save has pictures from events happening in 2016 all the way up to last fall. Same thing with the Asian Student Alliance. They have a great mixture of photos that they're highlighting from the last few years of events. So you can tell that these are two organizations that continue to be involved and stay active on campus. So if you don't have any pictures on your gallery yet, that's okay. I know that you have pictures of your organization's activities. Go back and put them in there, because this will be really important when recruiting new members next week. And then Osprey Hub event flyers. When you go to put in your event flyer, that is another way to just kind of visually be attractive to prospective members. It's really easy to create your event flyers in a landscape view. If you just create a PowerPoint slide, that tends to fit pretty well. So I have an example down here of the virtual Get Involved fair. So I created that in PowerPoint. I kept the information close to the center so that this way, when you go to crop it in Osprey Hub, you know that you're not going to crop off any important information. Also remember that when you're creating an Osprey Hub event flyer, it's so much different than the flyers that you would create in the past that would go and be posted on the kiosks around campus. We don't need the whole story and all of the information put on your Osprey Hub event flyers, because as you can see, once it gets loaded in here, you can easily see the date, time, and location for where this event takes place. You can click this link and it will bring you to the full story of what this event is about. So you can see that the examples that I used on here all do that. The Literature Club's first meeting is a picture of books. It doesn't say, hey, come to our first meeting at this day and this time and this place, because all of that information is right below and only a click away if you want to learn more information. So keep your flyers simple, keep everything kind of squished towards the center of your image so that this way you have some room to crop the border when you go into to put the event flyer up in Osprey Hub. Are there any questions so far about the way that the virtual fairs run, or kind of how to maximize your Osprey Hub page? If you do have questions, feel free to ask. We're a small group today, so you can either put the questions in the chat or unmute to share. I'm going to switch over to Joe now, who's going to talk a little bit more about specific recruitment strategies, kind of from the involvement fair and beyond.
Just trying to figure out how to unmute myself real quick. All right, so I have my screen up. Let me start the slideshow. So I'm just going to continue a little bit with what Lauren was saying. And here we go. So in continuation of what she was talking about, I just want to give some, just to finish up today, talk about some other tips you can do in terms of how do we attract members into our organization, and then once they're interested, how do we keep them there? Many of us might be thinking that recruitment might be difficult in a virtual environment, but I really want to discuss strategies for meeting new people and building relationships that don't require this actual in-person interaction. Besides, I like to think that we already do this all the time and don't even think about it from that perspective, because we are such a technology-based generation. If you think about it, right, so like modern dating has moved to apps like Tinder. We do job interviews via Skype and Zoom for companies across the United States. So we're very much in tune to using this technology already. So it's only natural that we would think about how we run our organizations and even recruitment using this technology. Those of us who are Gen Z are probably more used to interacting on devices than we are in person, in fact. So let's look at this positively as an innovative way to change how we do things moving forward, even after this pandemic ends. So what I want you to really do is kind of think differently about the way that we typically view recruitment practices. So typically you might see, we as organizations might be doing a lot of tabling on campus. We create a lot of flyers that we get put up around campus, maybe put stuff up on the TVs, which I still recommend, right? I'm not telling you not to do this, and hosting in-person activities, but I think we need to think obviously very differently this semester. And again, maybe even moving forward altogether, right? What ways can we be innovative about how we are using everything at our fingertips to recruit new membership? So some things to think about that you can do. So Lauren talked a lot about use of Osprey Hub. I think that's number one on our campus, really important. So make sure you're utilizing it to the max, putting all your events on there, creating those news articles, posting lots of photos, right? That is essentially your website, and we want you to utilize that as much as possible. Record short video clips. Some groups really do a great job of this, and you post them on Instagram or your other social media, to talk about your organization. Maybe you have an elevator pitch for, why people should consider joining your club or organization. And I think that's important to think about too. Maximizing your social media, right? So Lauren already mentioned, and Jeff already mentioned in his program earlier today, if you attended that one, right? How do we maximize our social media and use whatever the latest technology is? I think on our campus, Instagram tends to be the biggest form of organizational marketing. So make sure you have that Instagram presence. Write Osprey Hub articles, right? So that news section that Lauren talked about, super important. That example of Sigma Beta Rho a couple years ago and how they're pretty much putting out articles every week, right? Maybe that's a role that someone on your e-board has, that, in terms of PR, you have a PR committee. Maybe that's someone who just puts out articles on Osprey Hub, and that's their role. Host virtual info sessions, right? Maybe not just the first couple weeks of school, but throughout the entire year, right? So because it's so easy to set this up on Zoom, why don't we think about this moving forward, right? Maybe a couple times throughout the semester, we just have this open kind of Zoom, like drop in from this time, we can talk to you about what our organization does, and try to just start engagement that way. Hosting virtual programs and meetings is something that we've already begun. I have an asterisk there because on the bottom, make sure to watch our video on hosting engaging virtual meetings. So we did that program earlier this week. We did it over the summer too. You'll find a YouTube video on our YouTube channel regarding hosting engaging virtual meetings and tips for that. Utilize your advisor and faculty. I think we all have a faculty staff advisor for our club or organization. But I want you to also not just go to them for advice and help when you're coming up with programs and you're facilitating your programs, but also, how often have we actually gone to one of our professors or advisor and said, hey, we're the biology society, so are there any bio students you think we should specifically reach out to who you think would be really interested and engaged in joining our organization, right? So kind of getting those referrals from people, I think, is extremely, extremely good way to really get interest in membership. And then follow-ups and keeping them engaged. So it's important to get their foot in the door and get them interested, but how are we going to actually keep them, get them to join our actual roster and attend our meetings on a weekly basis? That's just as important as getting the foot in the door. So I want to talk about a couple things to do and not to do, right? So what not to do. I don't think anybody really does this, but it's always important to mention, because if we are getting referrals, maybe our professor or program does give us a roster of all the incoming students who are our new biology majors at Stockton. So, if we're the Bio Society, we don't want to spam all those folks and email them on a daily basis. But maybe we can do something to really, work with our professors and be able to, give them some information without spamming them. What not to do? Not planning or strategizing. I think if we just simply, we'll get involved, fairs coming up, we'll participate in that. We have our meetings up on Osprey Hub, so hopefully people see that and they come, right? If we leave it at just that, right, then we're selling ourselves short in terms of not planning enough to try to get more members engaged, right? So You know, I would come up with an actual plan. What does that look like? What things are we really going to do? Are we going to create videos? Are we going to have a social media strategy? So think about those things. And what not to do, again, solely outbound marketing. What I mean by that, outbound marketing is about getting your name out there, which is fine. Most of what we do typically is outbound marketing. So it's putting the flyers out, it's putting the stuff on the TVs, right? It's just getting our name out there. That is important, but I also want you to think about inbound marketing. Inbound marketing is about marketing efforts that result in getting people to share their name, their contact information, ideally more data about them and permission to continue contacting them and connecting with them. So, you know, when we're in person a lot and do the Get Involved Fair, we might have a sign-up sheet. That's more inbound marketing, right? But what efforts are we doing outside of things like the Get Involved Fair to really collect that information? Again, so it's coming up with new strategies to really find students that might be interested in our club and organization and finding a way to get their information from them and permission to reach out to them as you are doing stuff as an organization.
Can I just chime in for a quick second? I think that a great example of the outbound marketing is if you're doing, so like if you're the Stockton entertainment team, so you don't have necessarily like the psychology majors to target or the social work majors to target, it's more of like an open special interest type of organization. If you do an event, a social event, capture the attendance from people who are coming to that, because they might be coming just to enjoy your event, but maybe because they were likely to come to your event, maybe they want to help to plan events like that. And so Osprey Hub right now, especially for those of you who have already been to an officer training know this, but Osprey Hub just released a great feature on their page where when you go into managing your event, there's a URL that's posted that will capture the event attendance. So I'm going to kind of show you that right now. If you can all click the link in the chat, I will then know that these are the people who came to my session. As an organization, I could then follow up and kind of download the list of participants later and say, hey, thank you so much for coming to the Theater Club's Whose Line Is It Anyway program. If you want to be a part of joining Theater Club, this is how you can do it. So it's a great way to kind of, you know, do your event, capture the attendance, and then get that audience that you've had and try to recruit them to join your organization.
Great, thank you, Lauren. The last thing I want to share is ask, what is your elevator pitch? So I think this is extremely important. If you're not sure what an elevator pitch is, it's basically, you know, it's a 30-second synopsis, right? A 30-second sale of your organization. It's basically what am I going to get out of your organization? Why should I join your organization? Why would it be important to me? And it be something that you can say to someone in an elevator, right? So 30-second, really quick. Why should I buy into this? Okay. I think that's extremely important because often in our busy lives, we might only have 30 seconds to try to talk to someone, particularly if we were in person and people are walking by our tables and we want them interested in our club or organization. What do we actually say to those folks, right? I was in the history club when I was an undergrad in college. I was a history major. If my elevator pitch, if somebody asked me why should I join the history club, and my response was, it's fun, we talk about history and we're all history majors, that's not a very exciting way to describe our organization. So you want to come up with, as an organization, I think it is important to talk about how it is we are actually recruiting folks and to talk about, okay, what is our elevator pitch as an organization? What is it about us and what is it that we do that can get people excited about joining our organization, right? And again, coming up with some elevator pitch, it only takes 30 seconds. Right. So I think that's just as important as coming up with a more elaborate marketing strategy, making a 5-minute video, things like that. So think about it from that perspective as well.
Yeah, and I would say definitely have that elevator pitch ready to go for the Get Involved Fair. And one of the other things that I think it was on my slide, but I forgot to specifically mention, is that when you are kind of sitting there waiting on Zoom for people to come in, feel free to throw some pictures together in a slideshow and share your screen and have that go while you're doing your elevator pitch. So this way, again, it can be more visual and people can see. So for the Get Involved Fair, it's not like you're going to have that elevator pitch ready for your table for when somebody comes up, it will be on the computer. So you can still utilize some of those more visual methods in addition to your 30-second, hey, here's what we're about and why you should join.
Yes, absolutely. I already mentioned this already, list acquisition, referrals. You know, how are you talking to students, other students, advisors, faculty, people about, you know, who would be interested in joining an organization, right? So getting referrals. So list acquisition is basically, as I mentioned before, you know, talking to your professors and finding out all the incoming students who might be in a major that is related to your club organization, right? So there's all different kinds of ways that you can get this information. I'm trying to put together a committee right now for something. I've actually been emailing my colleagues across the university, asking them for referrals. Do you know a good student who would be interested possibly in joining this committee, right? So those are things that you should really get in the habit of doing, because it's really going to help drive people to your organization. As I mentioned before, maximizing social media. So here I have an example of ASA. I think they've always had a pretty good, you know, exciting Instagram account. So I took a screenshot and shared theirs, right? So some tips about social media and how you can maximize the use of it. So it's one thing just to post stuff all the time. I think that's important too, right? So people see how active you are as an organization. It'll be reflected in how active your social media is. But as people are following you, you also want to follow them back. You want to direct message them and say, hey, thanks for checking us out. If you have any questions, let us know. Introduce yourself, right? It's a way to really, to start a conversation. Scouring for connections. Again, it's utilizing social media, looking for people, you know, who are Stockton students, reaching out to them, DMing them on Instagram, things like that, and saying like, hey, you know, I noticed some stuff that you were posting on Facebook and Instagram, and I think you might be interested in our organization. Why don't you come to our next meeting, right? Again, seeking referrals, comments. Again, some of this stuff might seem so obvious to us, but putting in the time and effort to do this a little bit will really make an impact. So how much are we really going on social media and commenting on people's content and starting a conversation and saying, hey, oh, hey, by the way, you know, we're in the Asian Student Alliance, and you might be interested in some of the stuff that we do. So why don't you come to our next meeting? Again, it's building those relationships and starting that back and forth. And I already mentioned the videos. I think the video thing is a really smart way to get people to listen to you, right? A lot of people like to watch videos, short videos, to hear you talk for 20 seconds about something, to get you interested, rather than just using pictures all the time. So it could be a short 30-second video with your elevator pitch, or it could be a 5-minute video about the impact that this organization had on a member, maybe an alumnus who just graduated, and they can talk about their experience, things like that. So there's a lot you can do with video. And then lastly, follow-ups and keeping students engaged. So sometimes it's easier to get people's foot in the door and interested than it is to actually keep them engaged and coming to all your meetings and actually being an active member of your organization. So once you've introduced your organization with your elevator pitch, you've introduced yourself, how are you going to follow up with them to get them to actually join, to get them to actually be involved? It's great you recruited students to accept a membership on your Osprey Hub, but basically what's next? Between meetings, what is keeping your members hungry? The advantage of being virtual is it does not require much to engage members. If you're in the Horror Society, for example, send out the newest movie trailer and ask members if they're excited about it. If you're the Chemistry Society, send out a video of a cool experiment and start a virtual conversation. So there's a lot of things we can do to engage people, and those are some of the things that you want to think about. It doesn't have to be all about the big programs and the meetings. It can be what's happening in between and what conversations you're having with people. Organizations at the end of the day are really not just about the content of and the purpose of the organization, but the relationships that are built with the members, right, between the members, and keeping them engaged with each other. So I think this semester, being mostly virtual, is actually a really great opportunity for that, because folks are seeking connection right now because we're not really connecting in person. So use that to your advantage and think about how you can engage people on a daily basis. So that being said, we'll have plenty of time for questions too. but we wanted to remind you of what's coming up. So we have an advisor AMA at noon, which means ask me anything. So we'll actually be on, Lauren, Jeff, myself, we'll be on Zoom, kind of hanging out, waiting for you to join us. If you have any questions regarding this program, any program previously, maybe you're planning an event and just want to chat with us, whatever it might be, anything related to student development, please stop by, talk to us. Yeah, we'll be there today from 12 to 1, as well as tomorrow from 12 to 1. Tomorrow morning, we also have our Breaking the Ice on Zoom program, as well as self-care in COVID times, which is actually going to be hosted by a special guest. We referred to Sigma Beta Rho earlier in it's a couple of years ago, and how all the great articles that Patrick put up while he was president of that fraternity. He will actually be the one leading tomorrow's program on self-care in COVID times. It's actually what he does for in his career now in terms of talking about mental health and stuff like that. So please come to that program. I think that program in particular right now, non-specific leadership skills and things that we're doing in organizations, but more so, how do we take care of ourselves as individuals, take care of our those around us. Mental health, self-care is extremely important, particularly in these times. So check out that program. And then I just also want to share with you, October 8th through 11th is University Weekend. We are still going to have our University Weekend. It'll be a little bit different this year because it will be virtual, but we're just as excited, and because it's virtual, we get to do new and innovative things with it. So we want to put out that plug for you to attend and participate, not just as a guest and have, but we also want you to participate, your organization to participate. If you can come up with any fun activities, things that you want to do as a part of that, that might be virtual, reach out to your student development advisor. Let's talk about it. We're really looking for student organizations to be involved. I'll put in a plug for an idea that I've had. If you're an organization that's been on campus for a long time, it might be really cool to host a reunion for alumni. Again, it's easy for them to participate because they don't have to come to campus. So this might be a really wonderful opportunity to host a program like that, because it just requires people to hop on Zoom. So again, University Weekend to go. Please participate. Let us know if there's activities that you want to do. Let me pull off my screen and stop sharing. Does anybody have any questions for us?
Any questions that you have, or ideas that were kind of sparked as a result of coming to our session today? If everybody can shout happy birthday to Andy real quick. I see him in the background of Rebecca's screen. Happy birthday, Andy, and Joe,
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Oh, he's walking away. He doesn't even hear us. All right. Well, if you have questions, feel free to ask them, or if you want to brainstorm with us kind of separately, as Joe mentioned, we'll be on the Advisor Ask Me Anything hour. Oh, thank you, Desiree. I appreciate your feedback. But if you just want to kind of hop on and brainstorm, or practice your elevator pitch, or run some ideas by us to get ready for the Get Involved Fair or recruiting strategies, we're here to help you. So definitely stop on by. And if you can't catch us today or tomorrow at our Advisor AMA, we're still here. Even though some of us are at home, you could probably see I'm not in the office today, but we're here to help you. So just email us, reach out. We're always here to help. So thank you again for coming today. Please click the link if you didn't already to make sure that we can capture your attendance. And best of luck as you start your fall semester.